All right, let's get started. And yeah, just continue. I love seeing we got DC represented. Hey, Kenrisa. I see some names that are very familiar and some new names. So that is welcome, 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 everyone. We stay getting folks from Ohio. I feel like because I'm a Midwestern girl, that I just keep attracting Ohioans. So I love it. Welcome, Tyler, Antoinette. All right, cool. See you all. Just continue to drop your location, your name. Um, Brianna in Colombia, welcome, welcome. And let me know where you're at, and we'll get started on. Hey, is that my Kendra? Hey, Kendra. Hi, love. All right. So welcome to the open house webinar. It's a basic hour we're going to spend together today, not too long, nothing too hard. We'll let you get back to enjoying your Sunday as much as you can. I wanted to do a little bit to introduce myself and to talk a little bit about what somatic sexology is, and then also to introduce the program that I've created and have been teaching for a little bit of time now. So little housekeeping before we start with all that. Obviously, you just heard the little ding. Today's webinar is being recorded, and I will share a link with you after the event is complete so that you can revisit the video and answer questions. Sometimes we miss things in the flow and taking notes, and you can always come back. And then I also want to just say I invite your comments and questions. I will have the chat just a little bit off to the side, but Beck is here today and helping out in the tech part of this work for me, co-hosting, and we'll see your questions as well, especially if I don't see them. I will get to the questions at the end of the session. So we'll chat for about 30, 40 minutes and then kind of pop into question and answer and then close out. So any questions that you have that you feel like are not being answered, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I may answer them while I'm going through my little notes here, but if not, we'll come back and get to them. So just want to make sure that you know that. If you need captions, you can turn those on, feel free. I think I can do that from here. But I don't know. Yeah, you can turn on captions if you need them. That's available for you in here. And if there's any other accommodations that you need, please let me know. All right, so I just want to start a little bit telling you about who I am. Some of you know me, some of you know me well, because I see some faces of some folks I love. Hey, Brick, that I know well and spent several different beautiful weeks in my life with, and some of you I've never seen before, I've only seen on social media. And so, other than that I'm Goddess Amina, I am a somatic sexologist and sex coach. I am a body worker. I am a sextivist, a sexual activist, and I have been doing this work for quite some time now. I started in 1997 as what was then called a sex surrogate, now more commonly known as a surrogate partner. My road has been windy ever since then, finding my way into the work, around the work, underneath the work, all around. Ultimately, in 2004, I went to or completed massage school after working in the nonprofit sector for some time and working corporate for some time after graduating. And from that changed things. So with that, me having body work now as a part of my constitution and also having the sexuality background, sex work background, I evolved my bodywork practice into an erotic bodywork practice and did that for over a decade, almost 2 decades, before shifting into deeper work. I still do some body work. I still offer erotic body work, but just under a different lens now, and that's the lens in which I teach. And so just want to let you know a little bit about that. I have a degree and all that, finish the college requirements for the degree and all that. And in a field that doesn't have anything to do with this technically, right? Sociology and political science. So it doesn't really technically have to do anything with this, but And I've also had a shit ton, and I'm not even exaggerating that amount of other trainings and certifications over the course of my life. So, and really, really heavily focused on somatics, trauma, movement. I have worked in the fitness industry for a long time as a side hustle, and just as that's where my passion was. I love working out. I love moving the body. I'm a body nerd. I love anatomy and physiology. I love the nervous system. I love seeing how far human demand. I like watching. I can watch track and field events every day for the rest of my life and never get tired of them. I'm amazed at what the body's capacity is. And that has always fueled me, my pleasure, my coaching, my touch, just this amazement with the body. And that has also been how I have centered my teaching around the body as well. I was not set out to be a teacher. I did not wake up one day and think, I should start an institute. Um, I think it might have gone a little differently if that was the case. I was asked to teach. I had clients that had come and had witnessed me my work, had experienced my work. I used to do performances of my work so people could see what it looked like because there's no commercials. I wasn't on social media most of my career. So I would do these in-house sexy events and you could come and watch me slide on somebody. I think some of you have been in the room while I've done those. And I had folks that came and asked me if I could teach them. And I thought, sure. Right? Of course I can. And that's not how it goes. You have to write a curriculum. You have to think it through. And so it became a thing. And that was in 2017, where it became a thing. And then in 2018, it became an incorporation and an institute and a nonprofit organization. And here we are in 2024. And it's evolved into what it is. So it was just a touch-based practice where I was teaching some principles of Vajrayana Tantra, which stems through the lineage of Buddhism and some of the practices that I learned from there, and teaching some stuff that I learned from Neo Tantra and the lifetime, almost at that point, 15 years of touch practice, which was a very busy practice. I was touching on average 4 to 5 bodies a day. And so this was a lot of practice over the course of the 15 years at that point. Now we're a little bit further on to this year makes 20 years of me being a body worker. So there's some, I just want to let you know, like there's some background there that you that I think is really important to understanding the school, the institute, and how it got here. I also have always worked as a sacred sex worker and really found great value in that. I've considered myself a sex doula before the term was popular. I remember Googling it and thinking, I wonder if anybody else is a sex doula, because that's what this is. And I say that because I was a birth doula. I trained through DONA in my hippie era and when I was in college, because I was really into the body and I wanted to be there for childbirth. Later found out I did not want to be there for all the hormones that come with a mom that has just given birth. That is not my jam. So I quickly backed the fuck up out of that. But the work felt very similar. That service, that being in service to the body, that being in service to pleasure really resonated with me as a doula. And so I decided that, yeah, let me look and see. And there was no one else. There was a woman, excuse me, there's someone, Evian Whitney, who identifies as non-binary, and they have they had done some work as a sexuality doula, and so that was the closest I had seen. So I launched a program to teach how to be a sex doula, and that was where part two. Well, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then after that, um, I was in 2017. I completed my life coaching certification and started bringing in a lot more coaching into my work. And 3 years ago, I worked to create a somatic sex coach program that is now all of this program. So you'll get to know a little bit more about these 3 programs and how they culminate into the somatic sexologist certification. But that's me in a nutshell, how I got here and what it looks like. So yeah, that's that. Now, I have a question for you, for those of you who are here today, and you can answer There's going to be a poll link in the chat. But I want to know, what is the biggest thing that's in the way of you getting started today? And I say that because this program has been around now for a little bit of time. And so, and some of you have known me and followed me for quite some time. And I'm curious to know, what are some of the biggest barriers to, like, why didn't you start yesterday? Why aren't you already in the program? Did you just learn about me? Is it I don't have time yet? Is it there's a financial barrier? Whatever it is, click on that little poll, the link that's in the chat, and just type in your word or 1, 2 word things, and let's see what the word cloud shows us in a little bit. All right. And yeah. So that's that. That's one. We'll come back to that poll in a little bit. And feel free to share your answers in the chat as well. All right, so I want to talk to you a little bit about sexology, because I know that I'm very protective, if you will, about the work. I'm not a gatekeeper, so to speak, but I'm protected about the understanding of the work. For me, having had a very non-conventional path, ASEC was not around when I started doing this work, and neither were most of the other organizations. IPSA came after. After I'd completed sex surrogacy training. So I feel like in many ways that I was showing up a little bit early to the, I want you to do the poll. Okay, let me go back and check on that real quick. I just saw that. It should, oh, there we go, activate. Now the poll should work. Go ahead, click. Thank you for letting me know. There weren't these organizations that were around, and so there was a lot of forging my own way and finding my own way to where we are today. And so while I'm not gatekeeping and protective like nobody else can be here, I'm very protective of the language so that we have a common understanding as to what we're talking about. So I want to just kind of start with that. I want to start with what sexology is. Sexology is a science. It is an interdisciplinary science, and it is a social science. It draws from biology and psychology. It draws from sociology and anthropology, and it looks through the lenses of all of these practices, all of these subject lines, if you will, to provide us a way to understand human sexuality as a whole picture, as opposed to picking out just the sex or separating the mind and the body. We're looking at all of the ways that we show up as humans and how that affects our sexuality. And so sexology can show up in medicine. It can show up in mental health therapy, mental health clinical work. It can show up in the examination of society, past and present. There's all these things that are making us behave, right? That are showing up in the ways that we behave. And so sexology is really a study of that. It looks at sexual development. It looks at relationships, behaviors, dysfunction, and how that impacts not only the individual, but also our community at large. Now, I want to say that and let you know that I mentioned that I went to massage school after taking a break from working in nonprofit world. And I've been in the nonprofit world much of my life. I grew up in it. My mother was a nonprofit in nonprofit leadership. And so I've been in what we now call the nonprofit industrial complex most of my life in some way, shape, or form. This has all been a part of just being very community oriented as a priority for me and my lineage, where I come from. This work is no different to me. It is very much focused on community, and how we show up erotically directly impacts our community. And sexology is a direct, impactful practice, reality, study, science of how we exist as a society, how we exist in community, how we show up with each other, how we coexist, and what that means for us. And so it's not just about the sex. Sex is a big part of it. I love the sex. I'm here for the sex, but it also explores, we're looking at a broader spectrum, right? We're looking at intimacy, identity, wholeness, wellness, So it's a much bigger picture than just looking at this idea that sexology, that sex is the focus, but sex is the central thing. In sexology, we also looking at things like anatomy and physiology. We're understanding the body, which is where my greatest part of the joy is. I don't get tired of that, and it changes. I'm 40, just turned 47 a couple weeks ago, and I'm now studying hormonal influences and what that looks like. What does it look like as my estrogen and testosterone starts to do something different? What does it look like when as it plays a role to my desire, my arousal, the response I have to arousal? You know, there's also, neurologically speaking, anatomy and physiology that's connected to sexology. It's the study of sexual orientation and gender identity. We deeply dive into sexual behavior, relationships, and intimacy, STIs, promoting healthy sexual practices, and then also sexual dysfunction. What does that look like? And you know, getting to understand how that impacts us and what is impacting it. All in all comprehensive sexual pleasure-based sex or such pleasure-based sex education, and which is something that is very needed, all comprehensive sex education. And I say comprehensive because one of my teachers said very poignantly at a retreat that I hosted a few years back, that as humans, we know more about our bodies than our cars than we do our bodies, and we don't know much about our cars. And so it's one of those things that, yeah, we actually spend a lot of time studying a lot of things and actually ignoring the very thing that we're actually in all the time, and that is affecting us in so many ways. And so we spend a lot of time in the body. And that's actually what somatic means. When we look at the word somatic, it comes from the Greek word soma, which simply means the body. And if we had an umbrella way to put it, it's somatic, it's just referring to anything that's related to the body, physical, emotional, mental, like all of that. That is the body, the function and the processes. It's all a part of the soma. Now we have this reality of religion that has separated the body from the spirit, making the spirit so much more elevated than the body, that I think, in my belief, that has allowed us to disconnect from the most power that we have. That is just where I teach from. That we've had dominant religious views, not just in this culture, but globally, that have really emphasized the separation of soul and body, and continues to place spiritual well-being above physical well-being. And that has showed up in medicine, that has showed up in sexuality, sexology, that has showed up in mental health care. And we're still kind of peeling some of that apart. It wasn't until the 1600s that we first started being introduced with mind and body as a duality, and somehow separate from each other. And so that was kind of our first intro into somatic thought, and still very much, very far away from where we are today. Now, there's been a lot of noise, a lot of publicity. Somatic is a buzzword. I want to clear up a couple miscommunications or misconceptions about somatic anything. It is not incorrect to say this is somatic kink, or this is somatic movement, or this is somatic dance. I saw a twerking workshop and it was somatic dance. Absolutely, it's true. It is true, because it is the body, and the body is moving. There is, though, an understanding that when we're looking at somatic understanding, we're actually incorporating and expressing a general understanding of the body as one whole unit, that we're incorporating and understanding the reality of the nervous system, the reality of the body's holding patterns, the reality of how the body is shaped based on trauma and based on our lived experience. And all of that then is showing up in whatever work we do. It is not going to give you a flat stomach. If I see one more advertisement on social media that says this somatic workout will give you a six pack, I'm going to throw my computer. Somatics is not going to make you have a colonized white beautiful body, like whatever that is supposed to be, this idea that this is what the body is supposed to look like. That ain't what we're doing here. And I want everybody to know that when you see it, just mark it as spam, because it's a lie. We're not trying to lose 5 pounds. We're trying to feel our bodies. We're trying to feel who we are. That's the idea of somatics. That's the understanding of the practice, and everything else is really using the word somatics to sell something. I ain't tripping. I did it too. When I first learned about Tantra, I learned about it because I was a sex worker. I was offering this very sensual, erotic massage, and I moved to a state where everyone was advertising Tantra massage. And I was like, never heard of that. Let me go find out what Tantra is. And so I did what any nerd would do and went and bought all these books on Tantra and was thoroughly confused, because now I have Vedic Tantra and Buddhist Tantra and Neo Tantra all in my living room. And I'm trying to figure out what this has to do with massage. I'm grateful. It led me down a beautiful path. And I understand how easy it is to co-opt something and it innocently or not, and turn it into some straight bullshit. And so that's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. And I just want to be clear about that, that somatics is, there is a lineage that is modern, but I believe it goes back before anything that we're looking at now. Everything that I know, that I've been studying and learned about somatic theory and practices, has sounded very familiar to me from Malidoma Some's practices in the village, Sabonfu Some's. We use her writings, the spirit of intimacy, this village kind of mentality, this tribe kind of understanding, these indigenous practices that were demonized, that are now and have been re-evaluated and re-brought back to the surface through folks like Peter Levine and Ron Kurtz and Richard Strozzi, all offering very, very, very well curated information. I'm very grateful for it. I have studied with them and will continue to. And then going back even before that, Moshe Feldenkrais, Thomas Hanna, Wilhelm Wright, all of these are folks that have contributed to what we now know as modern kind of somatic thought. And I know what I see when I'm in Ecuador, when I've traveled to places and been able to witness indigenous culture and indigenous movement. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's that thing that they teach, that they discovered in the West. I get it. And so this program is also very much decolonizing somatic sexology. It is bringing in both of those, the idea of somatics and the idea of sexology, somatic thought and sexology, and pulling that together to really decolonize the exploration of the body and the body's role in our sexual experience. Yeah, there's a big need for decolonization. There is a legacy of Eurocentric dominance imposed in everything that we get to experience and study. And it has been detrimental and sometimes even life-threatening for people who look like me. And so I think about this. I think about what a very individualized mindset versus a village mindset looks like in sexuality and sexology. And I teach from that space. We center Black and Indigenous and marginalized voices in this program. We reclaim language, dismantling some of the Eurocentric terminology around gender, around sex, um, uh, and we use words that reflect the reality of cultural diversity, use language that reflects that. We embrace the bodies that we have without any goal of making them look a certain way, because that's what beauty or beautiful is. We don't have a Eurocentric beauty standard at the Institute. We are oftentimes nude And whatever body is the body of the season. We don't do summer body trainings and none of that. There is movement. And so people may find their bodies move better after a while of being around us. Like you may be dancing more. And that may or may not contribute to weight gain or weight loss. That's not the point. The point is we're embracing body positivity and understanding the need for inclusivity of all bodies to be visible as sexual bodies. All of our bodies are here for sex, and that's important to know. Also integrating history and context. There's a lot of things that show up in sexology that aren't being discussed in other programs. And we are doing our best to make sure that we understand the historical context, colonization and its impact on our bodies, on our communities, and then teaching, integrating historical awareness in our somatic practices. So yeah, that's kind of like what the program, how we got here. Yeah. So now I want to start with just a little bit of an understanding of what this looks like spelled out once we actually have a program, right? So there is, I think I'm gonna do it. Let's see if I can do it. There is, the website is newly updated. It's not new, it's old. It's an old website with a new update. The new update is, I thought I had it up, but it fooled me. Let's see if we can pull it up. There we go. So I'm going to share my screen. And if for any reason you have a hard time seeing the screen, I think I've done my best to make the website fully compatible and accessible. So if you need to see it on your own, I'm just going to throw that, I forgot to give that link to you. I just threw it in there. You can save that link. And I'm just going to share my screen. So you've all been here, I believe, to get to this class. You came to here. And so this just kind of walks you through what the program is. There are 3 different elements of the program, 3 different sections, right? The first is the sexological body worker. That's level 1. Level 2 is the sex doula. Level 3 is the sex coach. As you complete all 3 of these programs, you then qualify for the designation of Somatic Sexologist. That designation is awarded both through the American Association of Somatic Sexology, which is a young baby organization, and also through the American College of Sexologists, which is much older. The sex coach designation also qualifies you for ICF certification. There is a rigorous process, and we're trying to get our whole program loaded through there, but it's a rigorous process. Once you complete the sex coaching certification, though, if you want to move through ICF, I can support you in that as an individual. The program is not fully recognized, but they will recognize that you've completed a training and are working with clients. That is important, and I'll come back to that why. I'll come back to that why later. When you scroll down here, you'll get to 3 different parts that'll break down each one. There's Somatic Touch, there's the certified sex doula, and then there's the sacred sex coach, right? Those are our 3 levels. And you can read more about them there. You can swipe through, there's a more detailed explanation for each one, but I'm going to break it down and tell you what each one is. That's just there for you. You can pop over there as you want. The first level 1 is the sexological body work, or somatic touch. It used to be called conscious erotic touch. Some of you may have completed that before. I see some head nods that have already completed level 1. It's the same program. It's just been rebranded for a couple of reasons. One, you can't say conscious erotic touch on social media. Erotic is a banned word. Somatic is a word I made up and is not banned. So one of the things that we're getting over around the censor is, the other thing though, is I really wanted to incorporate somatic into the name as well. Like I wanted that to be a part of the name as well, because I wanted people to understand the work is moving very much beyond just erotic touch. And I say that with a slight face because I love erotic touch. And so there's no such thing as just erotic touch. But erosomatic touch is rooted in therapy. It's a therapeutic practice that focuses on exploring the connection between the body, emotions, and sexuality. And emotions come up a lot in touch. And it's just such a beautiful way to experience your body. I always say erosomatic touch is how we bring our clients back home to their bodies. So many of us spend so much time just living outside of our bodies where it may feel safer, and don't often have a space to feel safe to be brought back in, especially in an erotic context. And so it's hard to be in relationship. It's hard to be in intimate relationships, especially because of that. Erosomatic touch aims to create a deeper understanding with one's own sensuality, access to sexual pleasure, and to improve the overall relationship that we have with our bodies. So there's a few goals. I have a whole list of learning objectives and things like that that you get when you register. But some of the goals of the touch is that we promote self-awareness and body acceptance, enhance sexual well-being and pleasure. We also address sexual concerns and dysfunctions. We help our clients explore and cultivate healthy relationships with intimacy and sexuality. And we foster embodied learning and understanding of sexual responses, so people can have a better idea of what it means to be aroused, what desire looks like and feels like, how to access it. We do this with clear boundaries. We do this with clear communication. We teach those things to our clients. It's not about sexual gratification, although sexual gratification often can happen in the session. It's one-way touch. I'm touching my client. It's not two-way touch. There is space for that in the program as it gets later in the program. A lot of folks that are completing the program are doing it to move on to the path of sex surrogate or surrogate partner. And in that context, there's two-way touch. But in this context, it's one-way touch. Yeah, so I'll pause. I'll close with that for level one, because that is pretty much the gist of level one. It is a 20-module course that you complete completely on your own online. And each of these courses, you get a year from the date that you open up the course. You get 365 days to complete. Most people complete level one in 15 to 20 weeks. Some people take the whole year, but most people, I would say 70% of the people that take the class finish it within 20 weeks because it's 20 modules. And if you do one module a week, it's no problem, and that's light work. I have had some people finish it quicker. I've had people that were like, I'm just going to focus on this and go to school, and this is what I'm doing right now, and they finished it in 10. So either way is possible. There are monthly classes that are like lecture style, and then there are peer-to-peer practices twice a month where you get to actually work with the people in your cohort and practice. And then there is a 4-day retreat. And retreat is your loose word. It's an intensive residential program where you have hands on body for 4 days in practice and sit through some classroom stuff too. And that's just to make sure that when you finish level one, that you've had some supervised touch practice to move you through. There are some other requirements before you start level one. We ask that you complete a consent course. I have one here, Authentic Consent. You could also complete Betty Martin's Wheel of Consent course. There's one that's coming up in April in Atlanta. It's a 4-day course. I've taken it. I'm trained through Betty Martin. It's a Wheel of Consent. I love her program. The Art of Receiving and Giving is a very powerful book that she wrote that really breaks down consent in such a yummy way. You need to have an understanding of consent before you move into the program, and before you move into touch. That's the biggest part. And so that is a prerequisite. And then when you get ready to go to level two, the prerequisite is that you've actually completed hours of touch. So you actually will get some forms that you will work through to make sure that you're actually practicing touch, and you'll give those forms to your clients to fill out and submit and turn in, so that we have proof that you have actually worked hands on body. These do not have to be clients that you went on Craigslist for. And in fact, don't go on Craigslist for clients. This could be your friends, I've had people, and I'm not kidding, that some of this work, some of this touch work can be done on family members. I have worked on my mother's body. I have worked on my sister's body. It doesn't all have to be, super duper, like my titties on your back sensual. And that's yummy. Don't get me wrong, I love that. But it doesn't have to be that kind of work. It's really about, do you feel comfortable touching a body? Do you know what anatomy feels like in your hand? That's a big chunk of it. So that's level 1. Level 2 is the work of the sex doula. The sex doula works as a sex educator, right? Playing a role in helping individuals, couples, groups, whoever, explore sexuality, to get to know some of the basics about sex and sexuality through a body-centered lens, because we're still in somatic practice. We're still looking at this through the lens of the somatic sex educator. So we are not looking at this like traditional sex education that's just focusing on, scientific facts. Although we do bring in anatomy and physiology, we're really looking at all the other things that are showing up also. We're looking at ways in which we experience sex outside of the traditional heteronormal practice of sex or engaging of sex, different relationship structures, kink, and alternative sexualities. We're looking at safety and harm reduction in sex, what that can look like. We're looking at how self-awareness and body acceptance impacts our ability to experience a sexual response and sensations. And we're looking at things like how to cultivate healthy relationships with intimacy and sexuality. Things like setting boundaries. I do a lot of work around boundaries. I have a model of boundary work that I use in this program that is beneficial in the world. I say this every time I wake up and see something on social media, like, if they just had that boundaries class. Oh, if Reese's just had that boundary class, what would have happened differently here? And so we spend a lot of time with things like that, with communication, again, navigating consent, and having different tools to develop positive approaches to intimate relationships. We also learn a lot about sexual dysfunction, and really a lot about like how this work actually tends to a myriad of issues that we've experienced, or that we know someone that experienced, or that we've heard about and read about. Like, the world is happening, and then we can trace some of these dots back to our relationship with our body, our relationship with pleasure, our relationship with breath, our relationship with movement. Like, all of this is coming in. So yeah. And I want to just say it's important to kind of know that as a somatic sexological body worker or sex doula, like, you're not a therapist. And although I do have a lot of clinicians who have finished the course, that in most US states that they're not allowed to do any type of touching. And so there are touch and non-touch techniques that we teach. Level 2, we do a lot more non-touch techniques. You still have to go through level 1, even if you're like, I'm never going to touch anybody ever. I'm never going to do this touch stuff. Still going to go through level 1, because it's not just touch. And each level builds on the other. All right. That's level 2. When you complete with level 2, you'll do a few practice sessions with some practice clients that either I procure for you or you procure on your own. And that will ready you for level 3, which is the work of the somatic sex coach. Oh, let me just go back. So level 2 and level 3 are the only exceptions to the online course. There is once a year an option for you to come and study intensely and do a 10-day intensive with me for level 2 and level 3. It's not available for level 1, but it is available for level 2 and level 3. This is a residential program. It's 10 days of classwork. It used to be 10 days straight through. We're not doing that anymore. We now break it up. And so you want to have an extra day on the front end, extra day on the back end, so that you can have some space in between, because it's a lot of work and it's emotionally a lot to be in this type of practice. When we study and learn about trauma in the body, trauma brings up trauma. Like learning about trauma brings up trauma. And so it's a lot of weight on the body. So we're creating more space for that. But that's once a year. We've done level 3 already for the year. It'll come back around in January or February of next year. Level 2 is happening next month. Or Jesus, like this week, because next month starts this week. And so that also will come around again next year. And so if you are looking at completing level 1 online, but you decide that you want to do an in-person training for level 2 and or level 3, that's an option. Level 3, though, is can be done either in person or online. The online version does not have, for level 3, it doesn't have an in-person 4-day retreat. Level 1 and level 2 do. So for level 1, if you do it online, you do all your coursework online, then you come for 4 days. Do all your level 2 coursework online, come for 4 days. Level 3, if you do that online, it's a little bit different. You and I meet one-on-one throughout the month. And I actually go over your sessions, because in level 3, you're actively working with clients if you're not doing it in person. This is the work of the somatic sex coach, which is similar to the sex educator, sex doula, but with a stronger focus on actual personal coaching and development. So we are using principles from what we've accepted as a universal standard of coaching, bringing body-centered approaches in to work on very specific and desired outcomes that our clients have expressed. This is individual or couple, like you triad, whatever relationship model that the person is in. But this is not group coaching at this point. We're definitely working on, like either the individual or the relationships goals. And we're oriented towards those goals. We're oriented towards action. We're centering the body. We're centering all of the body, the nervous system, the skin, the flesh, the bones, the clits, the dicks, all of that is being centered. And it opens up the potential for touch work, which is why we go in this order. Because there are moments in your coaching where you will have these dual relationships, where you will step in and be wearing the hat of the sex educator, or wearing the hat of the sexological body worker. And so that can happen as you complete and move through the program. That's the 3 in a nutshell. When you complete all 3, you can submit your certifications into the different accrediting organizations, pay membership dues to those, and be listed as a certified somatic sexologist and recognized as that. We help you also. One of the things that sets my program apart from the others, in my mind anyway, is that we also help you get to build a business, which is important, to have an ability to actually move this work out so that it's not just a class you took, but it is actually a career option for you. So yeah. So let's take a moment and just look at what's gotten in the way. And see if I do it that way. And then, oh wait, what happened? Where'd it go? All right, so here we have our word cloud to look at what the biggest thing that's in the way of you getting started today. An understanding, knowledge. So I hope we answered some of those, but I'm gonna go on a question and answer so we can make so we can get more clarity if it's necessary. Financial constraints, time, fear, All these very valid. Those are big ones. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, yep. Moving around on me. My mom. Yeah. Oh, wait, I think that's taking care of my mom. Okay, all right. I see that. I'm like, my mom was in the way too. I hid my business for a long time. My mom sends me clients now. So it's all, came out in the rinse. But availability, business, help. Yeah. Um, okay. These are good answers. We'll come back to that. Great. So I want to do a little pause here. I have a promotion that's up for March, for the whole month of March, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, I want to just see what kind of questions that we have alive in the group right now for folks that are, oh wait, before we go to that, because I know one of the questions is going to be about scholarships. So let me just touch that first, because I saw financial on that cloud pretty big. And so I do have some scholarships. In addition to the payment plan. So you don't have to pay for the whole course at once. You can pay for the course in bi-weekly or monthly payment plans. And in addition to me being able to break it up that way, I also do offer some scholarships in work study. It is, this year I have 15 needs-based scholarships available, which is not a lot, as you can see there. I think we had, I'm not sure if people actually showed up, 25, but we had about 75 that registered for the course, or that registered for this webinar by itself. So 15 needs-based scholarships obviously won't go very far in a group of 75 or higher, but that is, and they range from 25 to 50% off. And the applications will be emailed to you in response to your request. So if you know that you have a financial need for a scholarship, you can send me a request and then we'll send you the application that way. And you just email that request to help@atltantra.org. We also have a work study program that allows for credit to be applied to tuition at a rate of $25 per hour. And we usually have about 3 to 5 work study positions available per class. That's per 1, 2, and 3. And that can be helpful too. So if that's something that will assist you and you have time, and then that you can look into that too. It's usually, I mean, most of our work is virtual, so it's usually just virtual based, although we do sometimes have some opportunities for, we've done a couple residencies here at EROS where you can come and do your work study on site and earn that way. It just depends on the need and the needs that we have here. So I wanted to get that out the way before we jump into Q&A. And now we can jump into Q&A. So let's hear what some of the questions have been. And I closed it out. Damn it. That was not what I was trying to do. All right. So I see one of the questions that I see is that we have someone in the room that's a sexologist and certified health education specialist. Would I need to move through all 3 levels, or is there an opportunity for a modification? Or as the expert, would you recommend that I attend all sections? My guess is that and it would depend on what program you went through. So if you went through like Walden University, or you had a very comprehensive sexology program, we could look at that and see. And there may be some parts, maybe you just actually move through level 1. I also work with sexologists who have already completed the program and are just working on developing their practice. But it just depends on what the program. There's some interesting programs out there. And I'm glad that they exist, and they may not cover all of the information that we have in ours. And so I would, I like for us to all be at a base level. So what I recommend is that if you've completed a sexology program and it feels very comprehensive, you don't have the somatic component, then you may want to move through, we could look, let's schedule a one-on-one with me and we can look. You could also add on and do what I did, which is also start taking on some somatic training. I recommend somatic experiencing because they actually really focus on they have components that focus on sexuality. Shoji Institute does something as well. They're about 15 grand though, so, or 12 grand for their somatic training, and somatic experiencing is a little bit less than that. So you could also just say, I'm gonna go study somatics and trauma on my own and put that together, because that would still qualify you for somatic sexology designation through AASS. But let's chat and talk about it. Is there an aspect of massage therapy education in level 1? Yes, about 50% of level 1 is massage, what you would be considered as massage therapy practice, right? Learning anatomy and physiology, learning basic strokes, learning movement more of the body, and then we do a lot of hands-on body practice, absolutely. Is there an online option for the consent course? There is an online option for the consent course. Authentic consent, we're in the middle of that cycle right now, or we're ending it. We just finished. It's a 6-week online course. The next one that's on my calendar is in July. And I say on my calendar because in March, I will be certifying people who have completed the online course and are coming here to be able to teach it in their communities. And so there may be an opportunity for you to study with someone who is certified to teach the whole program of authentic consent so that you can learn on your own. Otherwise, there is a class that's coming up in July. The Costa Rica part, is it part 2 or 3? It is both. So you would come to Costa Rica for part 1, 2, sorry, not 2 or 3, 1 and 2. Unless you're doing the 10-day intensive, and that may be in Costa Rica, it may be somewhere else, who knows? Right now it's in Costa Rica. And the 10-day intensive is only available for level 2 and level 3. So yeah, that is that. Let's see, what else? Did I miss something? Can you revisit the online versus in-person options for each level? Absolutely. Just want to make sure. I should have worn my glasses. All right, cool. So in person is available for level 2 and 3 in the 10-day intensive, which means you don't have to do any online work before, because it's all work all day, all the time for 10 days when you get here. Those are some options. Otherwise, you would complete all your coursework for level 1. And then when you completed the coursework for level 1 and you are ready to come to the class, then you would register in the next one that has space and come to a 4-day intensive. So the 4-day intensive, you fly in on Wednesday, and we are in class all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. And then you fly out Sunday night or Monday morning. It's up to you. I choose Monday morning because it's a pool and we're in Costa Rica. It's beautiful. We do have one class a year in the US for folks who are unable to travel for whatever reason. We have folks that are in DECA program, folks who are, just cannot leave the country for whatever reason. I don't, maybe on papers, I don't care. I just want to make sure it's accessible to all. And so we do one program a year, one level 1 training a year in the US. This year, I believe it's in September. You'll see the schedule is online. See, what was the other question? Oh, you thought Jamaica. No, not Jamaica. Although I would think about that. I know the other option is Panama right now. We're looking at a retreat center in Panama that may allow us to have classes there, which is actually quite easier for a lot of people because of the direct flight. Panama's the hub for Central America, not Costa Rica. So just looking at ways to make it easier. Why should we have something in our life like sex? Why is it so important to our body and the body more than soul? Let me know if I read that correctly, Safa. I know that English is not your first language. The importance of the body, we live in it every day. It's where we reside. Being able to understand and have some relation to it is incredibly important. Our entire body is covered with nerve endings. All of those nerve endings can receive pleasure. And a lot of times we focus on sex at the genitals, is like penis and vagina, and how those things are tended to. But sex is so much bigger than that. And it is the most powerful energy that we have access to as humans. We know we can actually create a whole other human with the energy of sex. It is the most powerful thing that we have access to. It is the only thing that all animals are actually concerned with. And we are quite silly to separate ourselves from the rest of nature. We are nature. Nature exists to be enjoyment, like to be in pleasure. And even the most devout religious person can still look outside and reflect on the reality that if I believe that there is a God that created this whole planet, and these flowers open up and salute the sun in the morning, and bees come over and get drunk in their pollen and play, that I get to have that too. That is a part of who I am. That does not let me separate soul from body. Soul and body are one as long as they are together. When this body ends its electric function on this planet, there can be a whole host of debates about what happens to the soul after that, or the energy that was alive in the body. But that's not sexology. So I don't teach that. That's for you and your personal discovery. But the reality of the body and the soul and the energy all being one in this body is a very powerful and true reality that that our religious clerics have removed because of the power that it gives us. And so I think it's very important as we focus on empowerment as humans to be empowered to understand the power of our pleasure and our bodies. Yeah. So I hope that answered the question. Does the Costa Rica trip include the course fee altogether? Yes. So the course fee is basically the same. The way it works is that you'll pay the registration fee for the online course, and then the retreat is separate for the 4 days. And if you do it all in one 10-day, it's the same price pretty much, because it's a lot more work to have a chef on site for 10 days and to take care of you all for 10 days and make sure that you're safe and that I have support to do that. So it's the same cost across the board. The scholarship works a little differently for the retreats. The retreats are very affordable. I will hold a candle to this, the most affordable retreat you're going to find in the world for 4 days of deliciousness and joy and pleasure. It is $1,100 for 4 days, up to 6 nights, right? Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, up to 5 nights. Yeah, you're not staying anywhere and going through a training and getting fed delicious vegetarian food and loved on for that price anywhere in the world. So that's already scholarship, just FYI. Can you talk about, absolutely, thank you, Sydney. Can you talk about how folks who decide to only do 1 or 2 levels use their education and titles? Yes, absolutely. You don't have to go through all 3 levels. Many people have not. There are people in this classroom that have gone through level 1 years ago. And so if you complete level 1, you're an erosomatic touch practitioner. You can start your business and be working as a touch practitioner, as a sexological body worker. You would still be eligible for referrals for clients. You would still be eligible to create your own business and move from there. You may find that opens up a door for a whole nother world. And so it's up to you. You get to create. This is like, when we talk about decolonizing shit, we're talking about decolonizing shit. Like, this is not like there's A structure, B structure, and C structure, and then you go on and do just what I taught you. I don't want that. I don't want that. I want to give you a baseline. I want to give you a guideline as to like what this work can look like and how it can show up. And I want you to develop, maybe with me as your mentor, maybe with another mentor, a strategy as to how this work looks in your world and with your work. And that may be very different. That may stop at level 1. It may stop at level 2, just working as an educator, working as a doula, working with clients to guide them into intense sexual experiences, to teach them about kink and consent. There's so many ways in which you can take this work based on your certificate and where you end up at. So don't get hung up on having to finish all 3, or also having to finish all 3 in a particular moment, right? You get a year from the moment you start the course to complete the level that you're at. So let's say you start level 1 today, and then you decide after you start level 1 today, you're gonna move through that, you finish, you're excited, you start working, you start making some money, you're having a good time. I wanna stay right here and practice this for a little while. Maybe you stay there for 3 years. And then you come back and you start level 2. You have 365 days from the day you open up that course of level 2 to complete it. Maybe you hang out there for a while. There's no rush, there's no timeline. It's just all at your pace. We're moving at the pace of our own drum for this work. It has to be that way. So yeah. Yeah. How do you apply for scholarships when when apply starts? You just send out an email. Yep, thank you for answering that. And we have a ceremony. Yes, we have ceremonies after every graduation or whatever. It's just like a little, congratulations, love, all that. And then for level 3, we have a more beautiful ceremony, if you will. But absolutely, yeah, all of that's there. So. Okay, I think that's most of the questions. If I missed one, let me know, but I think that I got them all. I want to tell you right now that as we approach March, we have a promotion. Beck just put the link in the chat. So you can actually start your level 1 without having completed authentic consent, but you will need to complete authentic consent before you come to a level 1 training. The next one is in July. The promotion actually includes your year of membership at the Institute, which is your founder level membership, $49 a month. It also includes the authentic consent course, which will be in July, and it includes the level 1 course. So you could get started for $2,000 as opposed to $2,500 plus $599 plus $40 a month. So all of that is included into one. Just for as we move into Women's History Month, it's the promotion that we're doing this month. You can break that up into 5 payments of $400. And so you can start your training today for as little as $400. And then that would just be deducted from whatever debit card that you use when you register, or credit card, every month, same time. So if you started today, it's going to be deducted on whatever today is, whatever date today is. It'll be deducted on that for the next 5 months. And you would be eligible to move into your level 1. Level 2 as soon as that ends. So so that is the promotion that's available now that you can start without even applying for a scholarship. It's already kind of scholarshiped, right? Like the rate is, because you are getting the bonus of the authentic consent course and a discount on the class, which is usually $2,500. That is a question that you will get answered, Safa, in the class. That's a beautiful question that the training would definitely help to open up that mind for you. If you want to start after August, when can I apply for the scholarships now or wait until the next one, because I have ceremony in August for my LLC, full-time doula. Yeah, so if you want to just, when you're ready to apply, just apply for the scholarship then. That's the best way. So once you know that you are kind of getting close to August and you're like, okay, I'm ready, I would just go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to probably apply and start in August or September, and I would like to apply for a scholarship. So we don't get rid of all the scholarships in the beginning of the year. We stretch them out. And so you'll be fine that the scholarships should still be available. Okay, that's a question that's not about this. So you can just send that email to info, but I saw your name. I believe your name is on the rest of us, so you're already in there, but just send that question to either info or help, and that'll get there. All right. If you are not a member already and you want to be a member, but you know you're not going to start yet, you can become a member of the Institute for as little as $1 a month. I always tell people there's no reason why everybody's not a member, right? Because you could, for $12 a year, you could be a member of the Institute and have access to more writings, more information, get first access to workshops. I don't do any workshops outside of membership. Our organization, our legal structure of our organization just doesn't really allow it. So every now and then I might do something free that's for the whole community, but all of my workshops, all of my Tantra Tuesdays now are only within the membership. There are also other supporting memberships that allow you to come and visit EROS and have weekend stays. There's memberships, it's just the founder membership, which gives you free access to classes and workshops and some one-on-ones. And so that's always an option as well. The memberships are not a year. The memberships are not a mandatory that you stay in for a year. They are where you're at. So if you start with your membership and you decide, I mean, except for the $1 a month one, that one ends. It bills annually. But if you decide you don't want to do it anymore, you just log into your account and you just hit cancel. You can pause your membership in the account whenever you want to. That's all managed through your side. Did I give you the wrong link? I might have given you the wrong link. It sounds like I did. Let's see. That wouldn't be the first time that I did something like that. Did everybody see in the wrong link? I'm gonna get it one of these days. No. Okay, let's try it again. 25, yeah, the main rate is 2,500. There you go. I think I gave you the wrong link back, my bad. So that's the promo rate. And that's just for the month of March. So you can sign up as you are ready. There's not a cap on it just yet. But if the class gets full, then we may pull it. So just know there's not all, I'm not guaranteeing that the rate's going to be till March 31st, just because if the class gets very full, we'll have to pull it because I don't have the capacity for 200 students to be like, this is the best rate ever. So, so if you have some concerns about that, just let me know. Like if you get to the point like, wait, the rate went away. Let me know. But for now, I like to keep the level 1 capped at about 25 students at a time. And so people are moving through, like right now we have, I think we just graduated a group. And so we probably have another like 7 that are graduating in a minute, which is why I'm doing this now, because it's like opening up that flow. And people are moving through constantly because it's all at your own pace. So I'll probably cap this one at 25, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what everyone, as I talk to folks and see what everyone's pace is. When you're in the class, there's just a lot of me that you're getting. So we have office hours on Wednesdays. I have one-on-ones with you. I have to go through and read all your homework. And so that can get to be a bit burdensome when there's a bunch of us in the class. So yeah, that's all. That's the only reason. So right now for this promo, we'll probably cap it somewhere around 25. All right. We went a little bit over, but stayed on time for the most part. I think I answered all the questions that were here. When is the Costa Rica trip? Which month? They're all the time. So they're just ongoing. They rotate. The Costa Rica trips are all here at my retreat home. And the next one, I don't know exactly. It's on the website though when you go to the events page. And they're just constantly rolling because they're based on folks that are graduating. And so we'll just throw another one on the calendar once we've filled up the next one. The next one I know for a fact is in July. That's still filling up. And we tend to keep it around 4 to 6 people per retreat. They're very intimate. I used to do these big 14, 20 people retreats, but no, we're not doing that anymore. We're living the soft life, y'all. This is about the soft life. I want you to experience it too. So yeah. That's it. All right, you all. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you, Ali. I'm glad that you've received some benefit from it. And if you have other questions, reach out, let us know. Otherwise, I hope to see you in registration. I hope to see you in class. Even if you don't think you're registering, copy and paste that link that we've shared in the chat so you can have that and spend some time thinking about it. The July dates might not be on the site yet. That's I just know that I scheduled those, so they might not be on the calendar yet. I know that's just a more recent schedule. So yeah, all right, you all. I will see you all in the classroom online. Feel free to say hi as you see me online. We're not strangers anymore if we were before today started. For those of you that I know well, it's good to see you all again, and I'll see you soon. Peace, y'all.